Marcus Rashford. Glorious! That is a special one.
Welcome everyone to this special preview here on the United Hour. Your boy Greg B, and I am joined by my good friend Mr. Courtney Andrews. And today we are going to be discussing the upcoming fixture at Old Trafford. Manchester United will be taking on Everton. And this is fresh off of Manchester United's 1-0 victory against Brentford. A goal again from the inevitable Mr. Marcus Rashford, MBE, securing the 3 points and getting a little bit of revenge for that opening fixture against Brentford away from home, where they humiliated us 4-0. But now we move forward. Now we carry on and we continue an unbeaten run of 23 games because our form has improved greatly from last season. Courtney, we're going up against an Everton team that we know that aren't in the best of form, but we also know Sean Dyche is at the helm, and he's a manager that knows how to pull a rabbit out of a hat. What are your expectations going into this?
It's going to be a fight. Everton have to get points. That this is the most interesting relegation battle I have seen in a while. Right now, if you're between 12 and 20th, you could go down because there is I think the bottom team has 20 points, if memory is correct. That's not. I'm gonna double check.
Yeah, I'm actually now about to check the table myself. Yes.
Southampton has 23. They are at the bottom of the table. And the team that is at 12th has 30.
Yes, that is Crystal Palace.
That's Crystal Palace.
Yes.
So with the fixture and the number of available points, anybody in between 12 and 20 could go down.
Mm-hmm.
Everton is going to come to Old Trafford and look to either go for the win or play for the draw.
No, I guess it depends on how things go into it, depending on how the game plays out itself. And Everton, remarkably, are one of 4 teams that are on 27 points when you checked it. They are only second highest with 27 on 27 points on goal difference. They are just below West Ham. They are above Nottingham Forest and Bournemouth, who is currently occupying the 18th spot in the relegation zone. So Bournemouth could still survive if the other teams above them either drop points or they have a better goal difference than them.
Right.
Once they continue their form. So, like you said, it is really a battle on their hands. Chelsea, and I mean, I know we were talking about Chelsea earlier. Chelsea have a 9-point gap that is saving them from being dragged into that. But if they continue to drop points the way that they have been, things could change.
Well, yeah, but it would have to be that they would have to go on a losing run. Because if they get in draws, they're still getting points. It might not be maximum points, but they're still getting points. And remember, generally, what we've seen over the last 2 decades of the EPL is that once a team reaches around that 40-point mark, they're generally safe.
Mm-hmm. That is truly usually the case in a situation like this. But we'll talk about Chelsea another time. The main focus of this match of this preview, of course, is Manchester United versus Everton. These 2 teams are going to be facing each other for the 3rd time this season in all competitions. Previous 2 meetings were the first Premier League fixture at Goodison Park, where we won that game by 2-1. Goals from Anthony and a landmark 700th goal for the recently departed Cristiano Ronaldo secured those 3 points after an Alex Iwobi opener opened up the scoring within that game for Everton.
And if I remember correctly, we were second best for a very good part of that game, though.
Yes, we were. And this was, I think this is when Frank Lampard was still in charge.
Yeah.
But this will be a different prospect because we know this Everton team is fighting for their Premier League lives, and we don't know what to expect. And mind you, going into that game, Manchester United's form was a bit up and down. I mean, we had the games where we had beaten Arsenal, we had beaten Liverpool, and then we
lost
also
Liverpool.
No. Prior to that, we had won the game against Liverpool. Prior to that first meeting with Everton, we had so we were still kind of finding our footing in that game because we also were on the back of a 6-3 defeat at the hands of Manchester City going into that game as well too. So form has changed. A lot of performances have changed over that time frame. So things are different now. Things are definitely a bit different now.
Yeah, Sean Dyke, always puts out a competitive team, and I would have to give him that. It's unfortunate that based on the clubs that he's coached, he's always been in and around that relegation battle.
Mm-hmm.
He's a pretty decent coach, but I expect to see an Everton team that is defensively sound, even though they've been leaking goals, unfortunately. I watched them this last game week here where they scored, I think they drew, or did they win?
I think it was a draw.
Yeah, they drew. Where they drew with Tottenham, and for the last 20 minutes of that game, after Harry Kane scored that penalty, Everton played all over Tottenham. Granted, Tottenham is not having the best of the season, but they have a threat. I think one of their main issues is that Dominic Calvert-Lewin has been out for the majority of the season, so there's never been a goal threat, and it's because Frank was there, now Sean Dyche is there. They've not had a clear identity of how they want to play. I think Rafa was there last season or the season before that. So they've had managerial changes. So there's been no consistency after I think Ancelotti. Is Ancelotti? They had a big name manager.
Yeah, Ancelotti.
Right. After Ancelotti left, because that Everton team was running. After Ancelotti left, they don't have an identity. So it's gonna be an interesting game. I'm a little worried though for our part because it's on the game against Brentford. I think our wingers are lacking some confidence.
It showed in a lot of ways that transitions were being played, especially the likes of Anthony as well too. I mean, we've all had our issues with Anthony's performances. I mean,
No,
I've unfortunately nicknamed him Derek Zoolander because just like how the movie Derek Zoolander couldn't turn left, Anthony doesn't be able to turn right for some godforsaken reason, and he's a right winger. So I don't know.
Remember, he's an inverted right winger.
True. So, I mean, but mind you, to be in Anthony's defense, in this reverse fixture, he did score in this game. So there's a chance that he could turn up.
Let's be real. Teams have now been positioning him to force him to go to the right.
Mm-hmm.
They're marking off that lane because they realize, okay, you want to come in on your left foot and try a curl up. So let's not give you that opportunity. We will give you the space on the right.
Yeah, so that's one thing that we also kind of have to be mindful of, and I'm sure Erik ten Hag himself is probably monitoring that and thinking, how do I tweak this lineup to avoid that situation repeating itself? It remains to be seen how he plays this.
Unfortunately for us, Garnacho got injured when he got injured. Pellistri, I like him as a player, but I don't think he's on Garnacho's level as yet. And that could just simply be down to playing time because Garnacho has gotten a lot of playing time this season.
Mm-hmm.
Sancho, for some weird reason, he's hesitant. So in that Southampton game, there was a point in time where we got a breakaway, and Sancho, the Sancho that I've seen in Dortmund and in previous seasons, would take on the man. And you saw where he just slowed up and he hesitated. And I'm not sure if it's just a simple lack of confidence or if it's something other than, what is going on with him mentally. So I think at the end of this season, Sancho has to take a hard look at himself. Figure out what type of player he wants to be and go into that preseason with the mentality, okay, I know I have these deficits, I know I have these things to work on and focus on those things and get back to the player that we all know that he could be. There's no reason why Sancho should not be on the English national team.
I don't know. I mean, I guess it's a situation where Jadon Sancho is like he's capable of playing multiple positions, so it's like kind of a jack of all trades, master of none scenario with him at times because he's been utilized on the left, he's been utilized on the right, he's even played as a 10 in some games. And there are some instances where he turns up, and then there are instances where he's very awfully quiet in a lot of games where you figured he'd be a player that can make a decent impact if given a chance.
Look, but let's be fair. Nobody's saying that you have to turn up every game. But I'll use Wenghorst as the example.
Right.
Your work rate. Your work rate. What you do, what the decisions that you make on and off the ball is what defines you as a player. Everybody is about the spectacular and the flashy and this and that and the running and the dribbling. No, it's not just that. Those decisions, your off the ball work rate, and what you do with and without the ball is what defines you as a player. And Sancho needs to figure out what he wants to do, and then take that, because he knows you as a player, you know what your coach is expecting from you.
Right.
It's now up to you to deliver it. And if you can't deliver it, it's better you come to Coach Man and say, Coach Man, here what's going on. I can't do it. It's better it might be better that you only move on, because I'm not in a space where I could fit into the team as you want me to.
I'll tell you this much. I mean, some players have so much professional pride that they won't allow themselves to acknowledge that they have deficiencies in their game to that point. They just be like, okay, let me keep playing, and maybe eventually the coach will probably say, all right, I'm doing something that will work. But you're right. Accountability comes into play where people need to understand that, you know what, maybe what they're doing isn't beneficial, and I probably just need to take a step back and acknowledge that I need to fix this before I go any further. But like I said, professional pride. Just getting a couple of updates there. I mean, the United app has just updated me and saying that Christian Eriksen has been back in full training, but I know he's been back in some time now. Do you think that Erik ten Hag will probably consider bringing him back into the fold for this game, or do you think it's too soon?
I think it's too soon. I think, especially with the type of injury that he has to be eased back into the squad. Now, I know we having some squad issues in terms of people playing a lot of games. We have, I think is the last number I heard, it was 17 or 18 games, possible games that we have remaining for the season. So they are, once we go all the way in everything, there is going to be opportunities for him to come back into the squad.
Yeah, I mean, you throw in the FA Cup game. Once we play the semi, if we win the semi and we head to the final, that's another 2 games there. And then also you look at our Europa League run. We're playing Sevilla in the quarters. We might either face either Sporting or Juventus in the semis, and whoever we face in the finals is another story. So you add that's like at least like 2, 4, like another 5 games you throw in there, plus the remaining Premier League fixtures.
Right.
So this season has been congested as is, and a lot of these players were World Cup players as well too. So
yeah,
you can understand the trepidation.
Yeah, I think Coach Man needs to look at that right back position. And I know you are a Dalot fan, and we don't see eye to eye.
I'll tell you what, Courtney. Before you go any further, I'm usually the kind of person that once someone proves me wrong, I'm willing to give them their due. So I want you to hear this, because especially I know this will mean a lot to you. So to Aaron Wan-Bissaka, I publicly apologize to you for questioning your ability to adapt to Erik ten Hag's system, because in the games that you have played, you have done remarkably well for yourself. So I have to give him his due. So I want you to be the first to hear it.
All right.
So to Aaron Wan-Bissaka, I apologize
on his behalf.
Okay, fair enough.
But I'm a player.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I have to be fair to him.
I think we missed him in the Newcastle game, and it showed. And you see, for physical teams, Dalot is not that player.
Nah. He needs space. Dalot's a player that needs space and he can expand. I mean, especially when him and Anthony are together on the ball, the Portuguese connection, because they both speak the same language, they'll kind of understand each other and kind of feed off each other in a bit. But that doesn't go without saying that Wan-Bissaka has not done well when he and Anthony have been on the pitch.
Right. Well, you see, and the thing is, Aaron Wan-Bissaka is a defender first.
Correct.
It would be interesting to see, and if we could, for whatever reason, if Dalot plays a more advanced role with Wan-Bissaka behind him, it'd be interesting to see, because Dalot's natural ability is to attack. He's not a defender first.
True.
He reminds me of of Trent in a way. It's hard to say, but he does remind me of Trent in a way.
And
You
I mean,
know,
he's not the first player that you kind of see that there's winger tendencies to get forward that have been forced to play more defensive roles. I mean, Antonio Valencia is the first name that comes to mind. I think about because remember, this is a guy that started off as a winger in when he played for Ecuador, when he played for Wigan, he ended up going into the right back position, coming to Manchester United, and he did well for himself playing in that position,
well,
mind you.
and
So
he played that right back position when he realized that he couldn't do what he was usually doing, which was beating people for pace.
nope.
So he had to evolve his game. And I think that's one thing that, this team, Scott has done that a lot this season.
Mm-hmm.
In the games, and he hasn't been a consistent starter, but in the games that he's played, you've seen the difference in Scott's game.
True. Very
You
true.
know.
Very.
So it's Eric Ten Hag's selection for Saturday is going to be interesting, especially, well, I haven't heard anything about Shaw. Did they give an update on what Shaw injuries is?
From what I'm hearing, that it seems to be just a minor knock, so he should be available. So it wasn't as bad as it was first feared, according to recent reports that came in. So I believe he should be in the fray for the game on Saturday. As we're talking about that, predictions. Who do you have down for your starting 11 for this game?
Obviously David De Gea in goal,
Right.
Rafael Varane, Martinez. I would go for Wan-Bissaka for this game, just because Everton's forward line is a little more physical. Left back, if fit, Luke Shaw. If not, it'll be Malacia. That middle of the park, I would go back with the
You want Casemiro back there, but we have to remember, this is his last game under suspension.
He still have one more.
Wow. Yeah, the Everton game will be his last game suspended. So after that, he's free.
I would go back with Sabitzer McTominay, with McTominay sitting and Sabitzer a little further forward. I think Bruno needs a rest, though. I think Bruno needs to sit down for a little bit. But the problem is, I don't know who I could pick to put in that 10 row. No, now if Sancho was in form, I'd have said move Sancho into the middle, play Marcus and Anthony on the wings, and start Martial up front. But as it stands right now, I would have to go with Bruno, Anthony, Sancho, Rashford. And I am a great fan of Weghorst, but at this time, I don't think he is the right person to start. He'll be better suited coming off the bench.
Fair enough. I mean, for me, I actually agree with the majority of your starting starting 11. Except, I don't know, I just feel like the way Sean Dyche's side loves to sit back and loves to just soak up pressure and hit you on the counter. I believe this is a game tailor-made for Weghorst, because remember, the defenders in Everton's team are a very physical bunch, like the Michael Keanes and James Tarkowskis and these guys. They're going to try and bully our attack and bully them into submission, because remember, these are not small fellas. These are big individuals, very tall centre backs, rugged, old school English centre backs when you think about it, because most of these men are under 6 feet.
Right.
So a guy like Weghorst in an aerial battle, even if he doesn't score from the headers, he could probably be like a dummy player, flick out up, header to for Rashford to capitalize on. So I don't know. I just feel like this is a game that might be suited for
him.
Yes.
But again, if we're going to play Weghorst, and this is a complaint that I've had of the team when Weghorst is on the field, we don't play to his strengths.
I agree. I wholeheartedly agree, because I mean, there's a lot of times where there have been opportunities to cross balls to him, and nobody seems to want to do it.
Yeah, I would love to see the stats of how many balls we've crossed for the season, though, and how many goals we've scored off of cross balls in the season.
and how many accurate crosses have been put in as well.
Correct. Now,
So
I think, and that stems from Anthony's
inability to
reluctance.
cross.
I don't want to say inability. I don't want to say that. Reluctance. I would use the word reluctance
Okay, let's be fair. Let's be fair. Yes, we'll go with reluctance. We'll go with
to
reluctance.
use that right foot and swing. Now, 9 times out of 10, you mightn't find him, I don't know. But all you need is one chance. And I would like to see, and honestly, if I'm being honest, even though I know that we're going to try to bring in a centre forward in the summer transfer window, I would like to see Wenger stay. I think he could be a very good squad player, especially for these long seasons where we want to go deep in competitions.
Correct.
Yeah, he could be a good squad player.
And I mean, I just want to kind of touch on that as you said, because at the end of the day, there's one thing: we like talented players, we like skillful players. We tend to not give the players who put in the work rates and put in the industry enough credit, because they are the backbone of a lot of teams. Those players who are willing to do the dirty work, those players that are willing to run and track and put in the extra hours to go at players to be able to push themselves when it looks like, you think somebody who just be a bit more flair to beat 2-3 men and go through and score on goal. Those are the men they need. Sometimes teams will be planning for that because they know a player has the skill to do it, and they'll lock him down. But when you have someone who's willing to be up for a physical battle, willing to throw himself into a position where he may end up taking a bad knock, just for the sake of saying a sacrificing to make sure the team wins.
Mm-hmm.
The village-like players, the park-like players, those kind of players don't really get the credit and respect that they truly deserve.
Well,
and Weghorst gives me that energy, gives me that desire to show that he's not the quickest guy. He's not the most prolific goal scorer. We knew that from before. We knew what we were buying before we took him in on loan. So,
but the squad needed that type of player.
Yeah.
And look, people has knocked Phil Jones. People knock, but Phil Jones will die for the badge.
Yeah.
I have seen Phil Jones put his head in some places that
I mean, they had to make the clearance to stop Olivier Giroud to score that goal.
Correct.
I can only think of probably Vidic doing something crazy like that. You're not seeing Smalling doing that. Rio would never do that. Yeah, Stam would probably just plow through the man faster before you do that. But
so you need players like that in the team.
The fact remains, because you know that shows the level of commitment that they have within playing this team, because they know they're willing to do everything to make sure that they win.
Yeah.
So I can, as much as I understand people's complaints and gripes with certain players, you have to understand that Ten Hag looks beyond certain things and looks at it from a holistic perspective.
Yeah.
So
if I can't bring you into the dressing room to bring a certain level of professionalism and maturity and heart, I don't think Ten Hag is going to bring you in. And I think that's one of the reasons why Gakpo didn't come. Because if you look at how Gakpo looks in that Liverpool team, when they're on, he's on.
True.
But when they're off, he disappears from the game.
Yeah, and that's the problem. I mean, you have a player there. Yes, you know he's talented. Yes, you know he can score a goal. He can create an opportunity. But when it looks like the entire team is off color, you're just going to just fade into the background. That's not something. You need someone who can be a spark in a sense. And for me, Weghorst, for as much as he's not the most graceful player on the pitch, to see the way that he was willing to go and put himself in a lot of games, especially in the Betis game.
Yeah.
I believe the Betis game was probably one of his best games for me.
And he didn't score.
No, he scored actually in the end.
He scored. That was it. Yeah.
The first leg at Old Trafford, he scored the last goal.
There was a game where his industry gave Fred a goal. What game that was, boy? I think it was a Europa game.
It was either a Europa game or a FA Cup match.
His industry, he literally went and harassed the centre back for the ball.
It was a FA Cup game. I remember the game you're talking about. It was I think it was either, it wasn't Fulham. It was which team it was, boy?
It's whoever we played before Fulham.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, but I know the game you're talking about. Yes.
So that's the type of player that I think Eric Ten Hag wants.
Yeah.
What do you think? Where your prediction will be for the scoreline?
Well, we've been keeping clean sheets pretty well, but I know it's not going to be a high scoring affair.
Mm-mm.
So I'm thinking it's going to be either a very scrappy 1-0 or a 2-1 United.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it. Because as much as Everton are going to be very frustrating to break down, like I said,
Pope is in good form right now too.
Who's that?
Pope
or Pickford?
Pickford, sorry.
Yeah, Pickford, because I know Pickford playing for Everton. Yes, Pope playing for Newcastle. Yeah,
it's the pizza mixing.
Yeah. But and also I think they still don't have Dominic Calvert-Lewin available for that game as well too. I think he's still nursing a hamstring, so he cannot touch and go. Sean Dyche might not be able to have him available for that. And they're also going to be missing Doucouré for his stupidity against Spurs, putting his hands in Harry Kane's face and getting sent off for that. So it's like, they're going to be missing a few personnel still in that regard. So I believe we have an opportunity, and depending on how Ten Hag goes out with this, like I said, I still feel this is a game that might be tailor-made for Vegas, but it may not necessarily mean that he's what happens, but I don't think that's enough, given our home form, to get that victory.
Yeah.
What about you?
I don't know. I generally agree with you. I don't know. It's one of them tricky things, though. It's tricky. It all depends on how we approach the game. Because again, if we start brightly, we could seal out the win early. But if we start with that lazy second best, where we've done sometimes at home, we could get punished.
Correct.
But that's some interesting pictures this weekend, though.
Yes, they do, and I believe also on the card is I think Liverpool are playing Arsenal as well too. So that's another fixture we're looking out as for to see what takes place.
Brentford playing Newcastle.
Ivan Toney, do us a favor, please. That's all I have to say.
I really need Ivan Toney to score, but you see, if Ivan Toney score, it go mess up my fantasy team.
Why? We have any lineup?
And I have Trippier in the back, and I have Pope and Raya. So I can do with a little draw.
Med FPL go be her best this weekend, but
Trippier and Raya are two of the best keepers right now. Not Trippier and Raya, Pope and Raya are the two of the best keepers right now. So while I will like for Brentford to win, I would prefer a draw. So my FPL team and go, I can take a little points.
I mean, all that in it. So yeah, I mean, it's gonna be a very interesting fixture list this weekend. We're hoping that we do get our. Who's that?
A nice battle at the bottom though. Let's stop playing Bournemouth.
Woo! Yes, that is going to be feisty. That is going to be a feisty one. Will the foxes eat the cherries, or will the cherries sour in the belly of the foxes? That's another question.
I'm watching this Leicester team. Before we wrap up, I'm watching this Leicester team and I'm saying there's no reason why this team should be in the bottom. Now, I get that, they sold some key pieces to the team at the beginning of the season because of financial problems. But at the same time, too, I'm looking at these players in that squad and I'm saying this squad minus Schmeichel, and I think they sold one other player, is the same squad from last season.
Yep. But it just goes to show how integral certain players are to a team. Kasper Schmeichel gave them a certain level that there aren't too many keepers that'll give you that level in the Premier League right now. I mean, the likes of the Reyes and the Sanchez's and the and Edison's and the Allison's.
Just signing some pine right now, though.
Hey,
the next keeper, I think he got a small injury or something, and the next keeper stepped in and hasn't been in ripping form since.
Well, you see, let's tell you, form is a funny thing in this day and age. So once you're on, you're on. When you're off, it can be detrimental to you. Yeah. Well, guys, this will wrap it up for the for our preview for Everton, and We've also touched other fixtures as well in the process, but we're looking forward. We will be back again Sunday doing Old Talk, and we will also have a review of the Everton game as it concludes. So look out for that. And of course, our usual show on Thursday at 6 every Thursday here in the United Hour. So once again, I want to say thanks to Courtney, and remember to like, share, and subscribe. We'll look forward to it, and we hope that we get the 3 points this weekend at Old Trafford. So, this is your boy Greg B. Take care. Goodbye. God bless.
Support the United Hour.